Well, Zadie also says she's having trouble, but they are at that park indicator, that Harmon Park indicator. So they may be in a dead spot. Walmart's parking lot's a dead spot indicator. The Harmon Park may be another dead spot. So it may just be where they are.
And it might just be we're having troubles pushing it out tonight.
We may. We're using your phone's hotspot.
We are using my phone's
to
hotspot
push tonight. It's new thing that we've never actually done it this way before. So
no, and the internet here at the hotel was even worse. It was less than a meg.
Well, I mean, it's not meant to broadcast
No, it's not.
a live stream.
It was less
even
than
at
a
the
meg,
hotel. I mean,
up and down, so it was pretty bad.
It's just supposed to be for things like checking your email.
Yeah, it is.
It's the hotel internet. Okay, so let's talk about our weeks.
Okay.
How was your week, Pastor Nick?
Yeah, because we can't let you go first because you get confused. So my week was pretty good. I'm pretty busy at work. I got one project closing and one project launching. So both of them are like in that, okay, let me check. Okay, let me check. Okay, stage. So I've been in lots of meetings and lots of stuff. Games have gone pretty good this week. Still focused mainly on Atlas this week, trying to get some stuff done. And it went pretty good. We did some fun stuff. We raided someone's base that was an old ally that have gone inactive. And we didn't want someone else to take their stuff. So we went in and took their stuff first. And that was fun. And then we had a situation where one of our allies, someone sunk her ship. And she told them. They were like, hey, I'm just trying to get off your island. I'm not trying to take your island. Please, please don't. And they sunk her ship a second time. And so it was one of those where it's like, they're a newer player. They've played a lot of Ark, but they're new to Atlas. And they're completely new to our server. They've been playing for like 2 weeks on our server. And so we were like, let's see if we can find them. So we go out looking around for them because it's Atlas, so it's ships and servers, and they were moving islands. So we were like, maybe we can catch them in between. If we sink their moving islands, they're moving all their resources. And so we were like, if we can that'll be plenty of payback for sinking a newer player if you lose a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So we hunt for them for like an hour and a half. We don't find anything. We're like, let's go check their island. Maybe they're loading their boats. We go back to their island. Sure enough, they're in their bay loading their boats to take back to the... Well, if you're on your own island, your ship is protected if it's been sitting there for a certain amount of time. One of their ships they had just put on, or they had it floating because they couldn't dock it, one or the other. So one of our leaders, the guy that brought me into the game, he just backed his ship up a little, and we got blasted by 3 ships of cannons. And so we backed off real quick, and I repaired the hull because one of the plates only had 36 health. We were like, oh my gosh. We repaired that, and then he backs up slowly because now he knows where the fire range is, and fires off and hits this ship. And in one shot of his like 3 cannons, he just broke a plank, and then broke another plank, and broke another plank, and then the ship just starts sinking. And so I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get naked and jump out the boat and go see what I can find. Because if you die, you lose the gear that you have on you.
Gotcha.
If you can't recover it. Well, I knew this guy was gonna be coming, so I was like, I don't want to lose the gear I'm wearing. So you just everything off and just jump out the boat and go for it. So I jump off, and you wear these little. It almost looks like lederhosen because it's like this straps and like these little underwear. It's supposed to be like an old time bathing suit, but I've never seen anything like it. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I jump out and I swim over there, and the ship is fully sunk at this point, and I go in, and once the ship is sunk, you can just start breaking boxes. You don't have to like actually hit it 1,000 times. You just go break because you can salvage the ship. I break a box, and it's got like 40 or 50 blueprints in it, and the blueprints are what you then use to make better stuff than the common stuff. So I start freaking out, and we're all on headset. I'm like, dudes, this has a ton of his blueprints. We've just stolen a ton of his blueprints. And they're like, well, get back to the boat, get back to the boat. So I start swimming, and I look, you know, you kind of swivel your camera because you're like, I'm looking for sharks, I'm looking for manta rays. And this guy has untethered one of his ships and is coming towards the other ship, which is directly at me. And I'm like, I am so dead. I have literally a whole brig coming at me. Well,
that's hilarious.
I say something, and Val is like, she starts lobbying cannons at this thing while it's coming towards us now, because now I'm close enough to the boat. I'm trying to get on the boat. The boat's shaky because it's firing these cannons. He just blew it to pieces again, because then it got out far enough to where our galleon that was there could fire, and it just demolished this ship. Oh, he was so mad.
I bet.
So then I swim out to that one. Nothing good on it.
Why are y'all picking on me?
Yeah. And so then we go fast forward to the morning.
If you're gonna dish it,
yeah,
you gotta be able to take it, bro.
We leave happy. You know, because it's like, oh, this is great. We got a whole bunch of gold one time, and now we've got a whole bunch of blueprints from here, and we've got a whole bunch of, and I was like, this is great. And then we get back home, and the blueprints weren't like great quality, but it's just, so then the next morning, our leader, Ghost, he gets on and he's like, guys, look at the message we got from the other team, the other alliance. And it was like, why did you sink our boats? Why did you sink 2 of our brigs? Well, because here's the reason. And Ghost typed it out. He goes, oh, well, that was just a misunderstanding. And the Ghost was like, well, if you guys don't want to fight, you know, we're good. We got the vengeance for them, you know. And
you sunk 2 of ours, we sank 2 of yours.
The person goes, oh, okay, yeah. So they backed off because the person who was online had to have said, Val demolished. It wasn't like, oh, we took some damage, you took some damage. We took damage once, repaired it, and then he destroyed their ships.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this is great. And so we, to put it into perspective though, she's a newer player. So the ships that got sunk, it's like galleon, brig, schooner, something raft. There's 5 ships, right? And so they sunk.
Big says there's nothing. There's nothing.
There's just nothing.
I mean, that's what he says. He says we have nothing.
Yeah. Well, we're just gonna keep going like this.
Yeah, and we'll post the video.
And we'll post the video later.
Post the video later.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
In case anyone is watching, I'll keep the chat in my hand.
Yeah.
So we can talk back on chat if someone gets something live, but otherwise
we'll post the video.
Post this video later.
Yeah. It's got to be. It could be restream. It could be. It's probably the hotspot.
Probably.
So they sunk 2 of her schooners.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We sunk 2 brigs that were not like fresh brick, like good blueprinted, but and so it's like, yeah, it was 2 for 2, but
yeah, your 2 didn't quite match our 2.
And so it's kind of nice. I don't do a lot of the PvP. Mm. You know, you play a game that's more based.
There's a lot of PvP going, yeah.
The server I'm on isn't PvP based. It's there's actually 4 wars going on today that I am not
able to join in on
because I love my friends much more than I love video games. And
it looked like you physically heard him to say that.
Yeah, I think it did. My knuckles tightened. Oh, that's not you. I was like,
nope,
what are
that's
you
a vacuum
doing?
Cleaner.
What are you doing over
another
there?
room.
So, I've never been a big PvPer in survival games. I've always played like Ark and everything. I've always just played with my groups and been done. It was fun, and so now everyone's joking because
it's
since
fun
then
when you win. When you're getting outclassed, it's not fun.
I don't know because the rest of the week I've been like popping on random islands and just blowing people's stuff up and looking for like. There's a thing called auto decay.
You got a taste of blood.
If you haven't touched your building in 20 days, 20 real-time days, not game days.
Oh, okay.
20 real-time days, anyone can auto demolish your stuff.
Auto demolish.
And so you basically just walk up and you go, goodbye, and it just blows it up. And so, like, if you blow up someone's foundations, all the stuff they had stored rains from the sky. And so you can pick it up. It ends up being in these little bags, and you pick it up and you do it. So yeah. So that was I got a taste of it, and so I've been running around now, not like purposefully like sinking people's ships or doing anything to people who are active, but just people who are inactive, and places that I might want to put something at some point. And so it's fun. I like the server we're on, and so it was an enjoyable week
Of PvP.
of PvP and pirating, running around islands, literally just with like primitive tools you make once you hit an island, and just looking for trouble.
Yeah.
And found it a couple times. I ended up in a polar region and picked up. There's these bottles that wash up on shore, and they're treasure maps that just randomly show up. And found like a real high level treasure map on this island. But you can't get off an island as easy as you can get on if you have a bed already, because you can fast travel to the bed, but you can't fast travel away with items. And there was nothing to, one of the base ingredients, fibers, cotton, silk, things like that. There weren't any on this island because it's in the polar region. So I couldn't even build a box. So I had to wait for someone to come to the island and get me.
Come get you. Did you call him? You called an Uber.
I called an Uber.
Pirate
I
Uber.
called a friend. And it was funny because he was like, well, what did you find? Like, is this worth it? Because I'm thinking the same thing. If this isn't worth it, I'll throw it on the ground.
Right.
And I was like, it's this. I think it's good. He goes, be there in 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, it must be good.
It must be good, because
So-
it's going to take 10 minutes to come get me.
Val rolls up, 10, 15 minutes late, because it all depends on the wind. And he's like, give me the map. Throw him the map, and he just starts sailing away again.
Hey, what about me?
Oh, no, I just bed traveled to the next island
okay.
and started looking for stuff.
I got you.
But yeah, I had like 4 little fires I made around me,
Uh-huh.
just to keep myself, because I died like 6 times just freezing to death.
Wow.
So it was I like things like that. I like that aspect of survival games where you're like, I should not be doing this. This is insanity. I shouldn't be rolling up on a ship and trying to shoot a Hydra in the head over and over again, while I've got it trapped behind a couple of walls it can't destroy, and see what happens. Oh no, I'm on fire because it spit fire at me. So it was a fun week of me just shenanigans, stupid stuff in games I shouldn't be doing.
So in my game, in Star Trek Fleet Command, it's not really survival.
Right.
I mean, there's no elements, and I mean, you could take a ship into a territory where you're considered an enemy, and I don't know, a ship will pop up and kill your ship, but then you just rebuild your ship, and it's not like character people, so you can't freeze to death. But in our PvP settings, we do have a thing in our alliance that we do where if I'm out in a warship, warships are fair game, you can hit a warship anytime you want, but if I'm just out in a warship and I'm minding my own business and you hit my warship, I'm going to go find 4 of your alliance's warships that are minding their own business and hit them. That's what
how
we
you
do.
play.
Standard.
Yeah.
That's how we play. That's how our alliance plays.
Aren't you guys Klingons?
Yes, we're a
well,
Klingon alliance.
So there you go.
So we kind of have to.
It's
I mean,
lore. It's lore
otherwise
too.
we're not
You know?
Klingons.
Yeah. If you just took it, those are humans.
Those are humans. Took it and then said, "Do you want to make peace? Do you want to be friends?"
No.
Yeah.
Took it and then plot for 100 years. Those are the
Those
Vulcans.
are Romulans.
Oh, those are the Romulans.
Romulans, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Took it and then pretended like you were okay and then plotted the person's downfall. That's Romulan. But yeah, so that's how that works in our game. And then there's mining ships where you're collecting resources to build and whatever. And there's certain rules on how you can attack mining ships without incurring wrath back. So there's a certain amount of protected cargo, and anything you mine past that protected cargo, I can come and pirate. I'm gonna destroy your ship and take the extra cargo, and now that's mine. I call it mining, M-I-N-I-N-G, when I'm gathering myself, and I call it mining, M-I-N-E-I-N-G, when I'm taking their overprotected cargo. Mining
you
and
have, You
mining.
have two kinds of mining.
I have two kinds of
that
mining.
You do. Nice. Yep. Okay. I like that. I'm going to use that.
You use that?
I'm not foraging. I'm mining.
I'm mining, yeah.
I'm mining. I'm mining for maps. I'm not looking.
Mining for maps.
I'm mining.
I'm mining.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's mine now. Congratulations.
MINEING. I'm mining.
I'm mining. This is mine now.
Yeah, I'm mining.
Oh, continue, and then I got to tell you something that's hilarious.
And so, Morda, our main admiral, we kind of co-admiral the thing. He's more of the recruiting and
now,
the
is
big
he the one that
picture
also sometimes...
Yeah, Morda, he's the one
Okay,
that comes on a lot. We co-admiral, and I do a lot of the background stuff and dealing with interpersonal and, kind of things like that. Well, he took last week off, and he has taken this week off. So I've been trying to do everything, and we've got a great leadership structure with our Commodores. They've stepped up and filled in a lot of the diplomacy stuff and a lot of the day-to-day stuff, and really made all the things that I have to do now because I'm lone admiral a lot easier, So shout out to King Commodores. You guys are great. But nothing special this week in our game. We're wrapping up a story arc. This month's story arc hasn't been great. But then they're supposed to drop a April Fool's Day mini arc next week. So it'd be interesting to see how that rolls out. It's supposed to be something with tribbles, the little furry balls that Klingons hate and everyone else in the galaxy loves.
I've heard there can be trouble with those.
Trouble with Tribbles, yeah, that's there's an episode in the original series called Trouble with Tribbles.
Is there?
And there's an episode in Deep Space Nine called Trouble with Tribbles that is actually a time travel crossover episode with the original series. Yeah, it's a great episode. They did an amazing job splicing in the scenes from the original series.
Really?
And remastering them to where it matches the new footage that they took. And so you'll actually see Captain Kirk walk in, William Shatner, and he'll walk in and he'll say something and it'll look like he's talking to one of the people from DS9 who has traveled back in time. And then he'll respond and it's like, this is too good. This is amazing.
And just think what they could do with the technology they have now.
Right.
Oh.
Now that it's not DS9 days.
Now they've seen these deep fakes. I don't know if you guys have seen these. People are doing them now on for everything because the technology got too big.
There's this TikToker who does deep fakes of himself as Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Christopher Walken sitting around a table having a conversation with himself, and as the different people.
And he voices them.
Yeah. So he does their voices.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, so you said you wanted to tell me something.
Yeah. So in mining.
Mining or mining?
Mining.
Okay.
The one I'm going to use now.
Yeah, mining.
One of the situations, the two ships. One of them there's this pistol that's a revolver, and it's called the Hydra revolver, and it's got a Hydra on it, and it's got six.
Hydra, not Hydro.
Yeah, Hydra.
I was like, it's a water gun?
No, Hydra, and so it's got 6 shots.
Okay.
And it's not great. It's not a great gun. It's not tuned very well for the game, but it's
so
just
you shoot one bullet and 2 bullets show up in the chamber. Or is that...
No, it's you shoot one like a pistol, like a normal.
So it's just a normal revolver. It just happens to have a Hydra on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was expecting some kind of hydratic twist.
No. So
hydratic.
Well, because
I'm making up words over here.
Are. It's pirates, so it's pre-industrial. Forges are just still new. They're huge and ugly, and they've done a decent job of sticking to ships. You can't put anything but wood on ships. You can't put stone or metal.
Except for your cannons.
Except for cannons, right? Of course. And they're the old school can. They're not the nicer newer cannons.
They're the big iron.
They're the
knuckle
big
busters. I've seen them
not,
in your game. Yeah.
And so I grab all that stuff off the one ship, come back up, and I'm sitting on the boat, and I'm going through all of it, and some of it was pre-made stuff, not. And I look, and so the regular pistol, when you shoot at it, it does 100 damage.
Okay.
Just for an example. The Hydra does 32, but the pistol you have to reload after every shot because it's you got to.
It's not a revolver,
right? The Hydra you get 6 shots, so it's less damage, it's less accuracy. There's all those. But I like it. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people would rather shoot something once and it be dead. I'd rather be running backwards shooting something 12 times because it's just fun. So the person that we took the ships from had a whole outfit that was on the boat, and I took it, but the revolver, because people know they're not good, so some people carry joke ones, like just for having. It was hot pink and hot purple, and the clothes were all red and black, so it's not like it was. Oh, it's So it looks like when Nerf released those girl guns, like Girl Power or whatever they called them, and they were all pink and purple, and there was no reason for them.
I'm not sure I remember that. But
Okay.
That sounds really sexist.
It was
Yeah.
super sexist. It looks just like one of those because it doesn't look like a good gun anyway. So it looks just like this stupid looking Nerf gun.
Sexist pandering Nerf gun.
Yeah, and so now I'm carrying it around, and just shooting it because it doesn't do it. So it's just like they're like, why are you running around with that? Because that's mine.
It's mine. I mined it.
And so I wanted to share that with you because I've been shooting my cohorts because it doesn't do enough damage to actually hurt. Like it just.
So you've been
like,
friendly fire?
I've been friendly fire with people with this hype.
With this pink Barbie gun.
Yeah, because it does like 30 damage and everyone specs for health. So you've got specking for health. You get like 320. So it's less than 10% of your health if you're wearing gears. You're just like run away.
That's another aspect to the game I play is specking. You in your ships, you crew. You don't spec.
Yeah.
You crew. And there's 3 different types of ships: battleships and interceptors, and my brain went blank on the third ship. No, they're all warships.
Oh.
There's battleships that are warships, interceptors that are warships, and explorers that are warships.
Okay.
And you crew based on what those ships' weaknesses are. Like a battleship has high hull and but it's got low health. So you crew for health. An interceptor has high shields and speed, but it's got low attack. An explorer has high something, but it's got low defense. So you crew for defense. And then you have a bridge crew that gives you abilities, and so each character has their own special abilities.
Okay.
You have a captain ability and a backup ability, and whoever's captain, both of their abilities are used. Whoever's in the second chair and the third chair, just their secondary abilities are used.
Okay.
And if they're from the same storyline as the captain, then they get a synergy boost, and the captain's main ability gets a higher boost.
Okay.
So now then all 3 of those have health, attack, and defense stats that then help your ships, so you use the right crew for the right ship.
Right.
And then the right abilities for what you're going to go do.
Interesting.
And then you crew your below decks specifically for health, attack, or defense, because none of their abilities are going to play into what happens. Just their health, attack, and defense.
Just their static
base
stats. Yeah.
And so then the higher you build up your ship, the more slots you get in your below decks crew to build up your health and your attack and your defense. And then you have Klingon ships that are really good in fighting Romulans. You have Romulan ships that are really good at fighting Federation. You have Federation ships that are really good at fighting Klingons.
Paper, rock, scissors.
It is. It's a paper, rock, scissors. And then the 3 ship types are a paper, rock, scissors as well.
Now, so in this particular game, Vulcans aren't a thing, really?
They are, but they're part of the Federation, so they're lumped in with humans.
Okay.
Humans and Vulcans and Dorians.
All the Federation are Federation.
All the Federation species are Federation, except at this time the Trill, which you're not really a big Trekkie, but there's a race called the Trill.
Okay.
They haven't joined the Federation yet.
Okay.
So it's a specific time, place and time.
Okay.
Is when the game takes place.
Okay.
Right, and so it's
now as far
what the
as
relationships are at that time.
As far as the series that I would know, where does it fit in the timeline?
Which series do you know?
I know how all the series fit into the timeline.
Okay, so we're in the Kelvin universe. So the new movies that came out.
Okay.
Okay, we're in that universe.
Okay.
Okay, And
so time's wonky.
Time is a little, well, yeah, the events are a little wonky and unfamiliar, which opens up broad horizon for a game developer to actually develop a game. And as far as when we are in time, Captain Kirk is a young man.
Okay.
Right? So he's just taking command of the Enterprise within the last several years.
So
and
similar to
we
the
are
movies.
in time. Similar to the new movies.
Okay.
We're in that timeline, and we're in about that time.
Okay.
Yes, that's where we are.
Okay.
So,
yeah, my wife really likes Star Trek. I am more of a Star Wars person.
yeah.
My father is both. So I've seen all the old movies, and I've seen most of the new, and I've seen parts of the shows, but not all of the
Yeah. They've done a really good job. And then, there's that new show Discovery that came out.
I've heard about it.
We had a 4-month crossover arc.
Oh, okay.
That brought in the main ship from the Discovery, brought in characters from the Discovery. All the storylines were built around that ship and its crew. It was really fun. And then we just did a 3-month arc for the original series.
Okay.
So they pulled in the Enterprise from the show's timeline into the Kelvin timeline and pulled those characters in and pulled a specific story from that show,
Okay.
the Doomsday Machine, where there's a giant Leviathan going through the galaxy eating planets.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. They pulled in that story.
Okay.
So that was a lot of fun. And so it looks like they're about to do a DS9 crossover for the next arc.
You enjoyed that a lot.
I
think.
really enjoyed DS9. That's like my comfort food.
Yeah.
When I'm not feeling well, I'll either turn on DS9 or I'll turn on Star Trek Voyager. And just let it play in the background because I can visualize every scene of every episode of every season.
You know a universe that really should have more games that's never really had like strong
Stargate.
Yeah, Stargate is such a good show. Like, cause I remember, and the reason I bring this up,
MGM, man, I
the reason,
loved MGM for making Stargate, and they have dropped the ball.
they have
So
the reason
hard.
I bring this up for the viewers is when we were new friends back, almost 20 years ago at this point, which is weird. He forced me because I'm not a big. I like fantasy. I'm not a big sci-fi person.
Right.
I prefer fantasy, and I didn't really understand
Fantasy
that.
not in space.
Right.
Right.
I didn't understand the difference between sci-fi and fantasy back then.
Yeah.
And the genres are much more fleshed out nowadays.
Yeah.
So I'm more of a fantasy person. And you made me watch all of Stargate and all of Stargate Atlantis in the correct order, week by week, watching them. And I loved it, don't get me wrong. Especially Atlantis. I liked Atlantis more than I liked regular Stargate.
Atlantis was pretty good.
Because it had more more fantasy on top of the science fiction.
Well, yeah, they went off into a galaxy where everything was underdeveloped back to the medieval ages.
Yeah. And often.
Yeah.
They just kept showing up because the Wraith kept them in those
Right.
feudal states because it's easier to cull humans when we're feudal, which is not wrong. That I've always wanted. Like certain games have brought elements into it because they've never brought the game.
Right.
But that whole like dialing into planets and there's so many openings for that. They so should.
I've always said there should be a Stargate MMORPG.
It'd be
It
easy.
just should be.
It'd be not easy. No video game is easy. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
developers. I'm sorry. Nothing's easy. But I mean, story-wise, and I'm sorry, writers. It's so open.
There's so much there.
There's so many opportunities.
So much there to
Because
go with. And
it's
you wouldn't have to
basically-
even write your own new stuff. You could just go back to the beginning and tell those stories for a while.
Well, and because they use a multiverse philosophy,
Right.
like, but they use a multiverse philosophy in a weird way.
Yeah.
You could any planet. It's just a combination of 13 chevrons or however many chevrons there were. I want to say it's 13.
27.
27?
Yeah.
It's 27?
27 chevrons, and you need 7 to dial into a planet. An 8th chevron will give you a distance calculation.
Wait
and a
a
9th
second.
chevron will connect to another galaxy. A whole different
You know
gauge system.
who does something very similar? that game I played a lot with the ships that is still in early. It's not early access, but the one, not the Outer Realms. The other one I was playing. I will have to look and get back to the chat next time. But they have a chevron system, but it's only for the bosses. It's only for certain things, and you're supposed to try to get to the center because something's in the center. And I've never finished the game, and it's not Stargate, but they have the Star Gates.
Yeah.
And chevron, so that's interesting. But there's so many things you could do with it.
Yeah. There's a fiction writer who wrote a fan fiction called Return of the Ancients, and he tried to get MGM to pick it up, and he was going to gift it to them if they would take it and publish it and make it something out of it. But it is an amazing story where a person from Earth does what Jack O'Neill did with the repository of the ancients, but he was ready for it, and so he becomes an ancient. He becomes an Alteran.
Wow.
And has all their knowledge and restarts the Alteran society and starts making humans into Alterans and restarting their, society. And at one point, he goes to this facility that makes Stargates, and there's like all these different colors, and he's like, this color's for this Stargate system for this galaxy, this color's a Stargate system for that galaxy, this color's a Stargate system for that galaxy. All you gotta do is choose your color, and then the system will pull up the dialable addresses, and this is a hub, you can get to any of these galaxies from here. And it's just like, whoa. And in there he talks about when the Alterans originally arrived to Earth, and obviously it's fan fiction, he's making it all up, but he said when the Alterans originally arrived to Earth, there was already a sentient species on Earth. And they were, I can't remember what he calls them, like theosaurs or something like that. And I think he's talking to Daniel Jackson. Daniel Jackson is like, you mean dinosaurs? And he's like, yeah, dinosaurs. And we relocated them to this galaxy. And by our power, we kept them in check. But they don't know that the Alterans aren't protecting Earth anymore. So at some point, we're going to have to deal with that. Because they want their planet back. They always have wanted their planet back. And so it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to fight sentient dinosaurs at some point in the future of this series if he keeps writing it.
Yeah, someone needs to get him into... Anyway, okay. What time is it? We've been talking...
Right.
I'm sorry.
It's 7:22. And this is the reason why I let us continue to go on, okay? This is my main point, okay? Prayer is not a big show. And prayer is not...
So you were letting me run uncheck on purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
Prayer is not give me attention and pay attention to me talking to God.
Okay.
Prayer is not look at me, I have all the right words. Prayer is something that continuously goes on in the background of your mind and continuously goes on in your spirit while you're having a conversation, while you're talking about the things that you like, while you're thinking about your day and what you're going to do. This is something that goes on inside of you. It is a lifestyle, okay? And if the only time you're praying is when people are watching, and the only time you're praying is when you're doing it out loud, then you are doing it wrong, okay? Now, I'm not saying your prayers won't be answered. I'm not saying God doesn't hear you, but I'm saying biblically, by the definitions given in the Bible of what prayer is and how to pray. It should never be about, look at me, I have the right words. It should never be about, look at me as I talk to God.
Okay.
Now, prayer can happen out loud.
Right.
And it can build up the other people's faith.
Right. But it's not supposed to be. So, I've always, we both grew up religious. In religious settings, I should say. Because I grew up a little more religious than you. Just because I found it a little faster. The relationship. And, we've all dealt with people who love to hear themselves pray.
Yes.
And I'm not saying their prayers aren't accurate.
Right.
Because I don't know their hearts. But man, it makes you wonder.
Well, everyone has to come to a certain level of maturity in everything. And prayer's no different. And your relationship with God is no different. So, I would never discourage someone from praying. But if you want to really be Berean, and if you really want to hone your spiritual lifestyle, then you need to learn how to grow. You need to learn how to pray accurately and correctly, right? Because, Finnick, we love Finnick. My son, my 2-year-old son.
Which is one of the only reasons I actually came out here, I'm going to be honest.
So we love Finnick. Now, Finnick can talk. Finnick was playing on the ground, and he said, Sarah, floor, me. You get the message.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But is it the right way to talk?
Well,
is it mature?
It's not mature English.
Is it excellent?
No. It's efficient.
It's efficient.
I kind of enjoy it.
But this is my point, though.
I know.
When we pray out loud and we try to gather attention to ourselves and we're doing what Finnick is doing, we're getting prayer. We're doing the prayer, right? But we're not doing the same thing as saying, hey, Sarah, I want to play with you. Will you come play with me on the carpet?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the mature sentence.
And it's not the...
Right.
To get attention.
And it's not his fault.
No. He's immature still.
Right.
He's 2.
He needs to learn.
Right.
He's at that level of his learning, which is my point. Just because that's the way you've done it, and just because that's the way people are doing it, it's not about them. It's not they're not the problem. The problem is just they need to spend more time working on that relationship and working on that part of their life and mature in that area. And the Bible lays out this is what prayer looks like, and so they just need to learn what the Bible says about what prayer looks like. And
yeah, and one thing that frustrates me often is people who they take like the Lord's Prayer and they think that is prayer.
Right, and they recite it word for word.
Yeah, every time. Yeah. Or people who follow that exact pattern every time. And, we've talked about in the past when Paul and Silas are doing things and when certain things are happening, they said a prayer and then we all know Paul, wasn't standing before a group going, Our Father, who he just was like, if you don't tell me what to say, I'm about to die. Like, I need some help. I need it right now.
Yeah.
Please. Cool. And then just started talking and hoping that it was he had the faith and the hope that, God was going to kick in like the Holy Spirit's going to kick in. Right? Like, right?
There's that one point where Jesus talks to God and he does it out loud and he goes, and I'm not saying this out loud for my benefit. I'm saying this out loud for their benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, so that's when you pray out loud. It's when it's for the other person's benefit, right?
Yeah.
That's when you pray out loud.
It's for edification.
Yeah. If it's just you and God talking, if it's just a private conversation, keep it private, 100% private.
Yeah.
Now,
of course, we are speaking about regular, normal prayer here.
Right.
Now, there is the aspects of, like, praying in tongues, of praying, again, prayer in, like, sermons and stuff, and in churches, it's for edification of the body.
Right.
And that's actually talked about in the Bible of I really don't like not having my e-sword on one of my monitors because I've got to wing it off the top of my head and I don't enjoy this. But it talks about how doing this out loud is not for edification of the spirit. It's for edification of the body, meaning the body of Christ, the people you're doing it in front of. It's not for you.
Right.
It's for everyone. And so it's often we have to really realize there's not always a problem. It's not like, oh, well, this church, they pray out loud 3 times, and that's bad. That's not what we're trying to say.
Mm-mm.
We're not trying to say, you pray bad, you do this. Because, of course, as you guys know, neither one of us believe we have any way of judging. But it's one of those where it's like, okay, is this the same way when you're praying for edification of everyone? Is that truly your mindset? Or is your mindset,
look at me.
Look at me. And that's the thing that is not for us to judge ever. It's for God to judge.
And this is what I brought this up in the podcast. Well, I read this snippet of scripture that brings
Right.
this up, where Jesus talks about the tax collector and the. I can't remember what his profession was. Was he a priest? Was he a?
Mm-mm.
Anyway, the one man stands up at the front.
I think it was just normal. I don't think they. I
Just
don't
normal
remember.
man. And he's,
I don't remember.
And he, thank you, Lord, that I'm not a tax collector like this guy. Thank you, I'm not a degenerate. Thank you. Praising himself and saying thank you, Lord, out loud.
Right.
And in the back of the room, there's this guy who won't even lift his eyes to the Lord. He won't even lift his eyes to heaven. He's beating his chest and begging for forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what we're talking about. Like the guy in the front, he wasn't doing that for the edification
No.
of everyone around him.
He wasn't doing it like people praying for food. Praying for food is something you see a lot in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I don't personally do it, but my kids do. And I respect that time.
right. And, it's one of those things where some people do it for edification. I personally pray over my food mostly because I have digestional issues. And so, like, me and my daughter's prayers my youngest, are much different than everyone else's because, like, she does it the best. She's like, pray this goes down well, and thank you for providing it. Amen. And you're like, who prays for something to go down well? And you're like, anyone who has IBS.
Swallowing issues.
Anyone with IBS
Yeah.
says,
I
pray
basically
this-
just I approach eating with an internal nod of gratitude to the Lord for blessing me with it, and that's my extent of praying over my food.
Which is, in what you're saying, a background
Yeah.
prayer, like a monk doing their chores and praying the whole time. For you, you're looking at it from a standpoint of, you go into it with thanks. It's just you don't do it audibly. In the way of. Now, I have lots of friends who are different faiths all over the place, of course, as we all know. I run with an interesting crowd sometimes. But some of my Catholic friends, I find it interesting because they don't pray out loud for their meals. But they believe in doing the symbol after every prayer. So you'll be just sitting there talking to them. And then all of a sudden you see them doing like this, and then they'll pick up the conversation again. And you're like, was I interrupting your prayer? And like, humble people are like, oh, no, that's just how we do things. Because they were praying while you were talking. They were paying attention to you, but they were, and they moved on. Like, they didn't stop the conversation. They didn't, which weirded me out with some of my friends there for a while. But that's how they were brought up.
Yeah.
Prayer is just something you do, but then we have to do a symbol, which breaks my mind. But that's beside the point. Like, you got 98% of it right. Like,
well, it's like when someone prays and they say amen. And I'm like, is that the only Latin word you know?
Well, yes.
Because did you pray the rest of that prayer in Latin? Or did you just think, I'm going to cap this off with Latin because that somehow magically validates what I was saying?
Well, I think it's because I think that one's a cultural habit thing.
Well, I mean, most things are cultural habits.
Right. But I
we
think
don't put
that's
our elbows on the table as a cultural habit. Except for you. You do.
I don't get why
Mr.
either.
Prison eater over here.
So, like, I was watching something and they were talking about, well, if you're in prison, you eat where you protect your food. And the person was like, oh, this guy got out 6 months ago, but he's still eating like he's in prison. And I'm sitting there going, why do I eat like I'm in prison? I've never been to prison.
Why do I eat like I gotta protect my food?
I've never had to fight someone for food. I've been middle class my whole life. I've been blessed and, privileged forever.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes those meals were, rice, but I've always had food. Like, so it's not like I have a scarcity mindset. Why do I eat like that? Anyway.
That's funny.
That's a side note. That has nothing to do with prayer. But it is
nothing to do with prayer.
It is very important, I think, as we do things that, my wife, who is, you know, the love of my life, of course. But I often make fun of her because that's just our relationship, and it's how, you know, we've always been. But when it comes to prayer, she's kind of scary. And like they'll be like, "Hey baby, I need you to pray for this," and then you don't ever hear her. She's very passive. She's very, but you know she has started. You feel calmer. You know, and it's like, "Hey, I'm stressed. I need you to, you know," that's all I gotta do. Shoot her a text, and it's not like she drops what she's doing, falls to the ground, and begs She'll wake up at 2 a.m. and just start praying. We have a family prayer list and we extended it to the extended family. She'll get up and just pray.
Not that there aren't times to throw your arms in the air and drop to your knees in prayer.
No, there's not.
That happens.
But you don't have to every time, is our point.
And
when you're frustrated, there are times, let's be honest, I know I have, and I'm pretty sure you have. There are times where you start yelling, and you're like, "God, if you don't fix something, I'm going to go insane." Now, normally, you get a little bit of at least I do. I get pushback because I'm always in the wrong normally when I'm praying that way. It's usually, I haven't had any situations where I was praying that way not out of anger. It's usually like, I'm mad, God. It's not a like someone having a health issue, you know, and you're begging for God to heal someone or something. I haven't had a lot of that in my life, so I'm not talking about those people who are doing it right. I'm talking about that. I've prayed the angry, you're going to change your mind. You're not going to put me through this.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, stay another year. Crap.
When I was youth pastoring that youth group, every Saturday night, Pastor Danny would call me with his notes, and I would make the PowerPoint. And then when I finished with that, I'd go up to the church to load it and get all that ready. And so every Sunday morning from about 1 to 2, sometimes 2 to 3, I'd be in that sanctuary just praying for a full hour. Praying over the youth group, praying over the church, pacing the rows and yelling, and it's quite cathartic. All alone in the sanctuary in the middle of the night praying.
Yeah.
So that yelling
I can see
and
that.
You know, throwing your hands up, and
there are times for
it has its place. It really does.
Yeah. And that's the thing is what we're really, what I'm at least coming down to saying, you can whatever, is it's all about where your heart is in these moments. Where is your heart? Is your heart the person who's standing up in line and saying, "Look at me, I'm praying"? If that is your situation,
sit down.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
This is not the place. You're not reaching. You know, I'm really kind of getting frustrated with the whole family Bible study thing because I'm really tired of finding things in this Bible study I don't want to be doing with my family anyway. But look at Elijah and the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
The prophets of Baal. They're cutting themselves. They're screaming.
Astra.
Yes, and yes. They're cutting themselves. They're screaming. They're doing... And he's like, "Hey, God, can I? I can't. Okay. I need some buckets of water." Like, just chilling.
This is too dry.
You know, and, you know, so it's just interesting. You know, that's not what God wants. That's not
water.
Who our God is. Because they were in a drought.
Mm-hmm. And what else?
Well, Baal was the god of dew and rain. And so it was...
Yep.
My God is so good, he will literally incinerate water.
A lot of people just pass over that whole idea of, no, I really am just being...
Oh, he was being a punk.
I'm being a complete D-bag right now.
Yeah. I mean, he was like, "Hey, maybe he's asleep."
I'm adding insult to injury.
Maybe he's asleep.
Straight up just...
Could you yell, maybe he's walking down the road and he'll be here in a few minutes. That one, I read that again, and I had missed that. Like, as a child reading, and, as an adult reading, I'd always miss maybe he's walking down the road. Wait. Did you just say that their God had to walk over here?
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
walking.
taking a while? Like,
Yeah.
oh, Elijah, you are cold. So,
Yeah. So that's what we have on prayer.
yes, that's what we have on prayer.
So go pray. Right now. No, wait. The new podcast just came out. I don't remember what it's about.
We've spent all day swimming. We spent yesterday at the beach, and then we spent like 2 hours in a hot tub. You're only supposed to really spend 15 minutes.
I
So
recorded it on
we're
Friday
cooked.
night. I know I did. I wrote it and recorded it on Friday night.
we're a little cooked at the moment.
What is it about?
I don't even think you sent me the notes on this one.
I didn't. Anyway, it's out. Go find it. Listen to it, and you might get a video version of it on Wednesday or not. I don't know. It depends on how I feel tomorrow and the next day about loading that. So that's where we are right now.
And you're gonna see this after the fact, time-wise.
Right, because we had all the
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulties, and our wives are texting us to find out if we are alive because it's past our normal end time by 10 minutes, and they haven't heard from us, so they're asking if we're alive.
Like. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna say this. We have not been together in 10 months. Did they think we were gonna wrap up on time?
I don't know what they thought.
We haven't seen each other in 10 months. Although I do want some Whataburger. That is an endorsement. I will
That is an
always
endorsement.
endorse Whataburger.
Unless it's one of the ones that gives you paper straws, like the one about the south exit of the DFW airport. Yeah, I'm calling you out. Stop it with the paper straws.
Well, you know some states they are required to.
It's in Texas.
Their owners might be weird.
Well, it happened when that company in Chicago bought controlling interest
No.
in Whataburger.
No, that was happening to the Irving one, so I bet they're owned by the same people. The Irving one, the one in Las Colinas, they have been doing it since I started working over there at GTL, and I hate it. My wife
If I
keeps
find
metal
out your
straws.
Whataburger has paper straws, that is the last time I ever go to that Whataburger. Period.
I actually keep metal straws in my car because of that.
I understand you want to keep plastic straws and you want it out of waterways and yada yada, and you want to be considerate and yada yada. I get it, but I'm not gonna drink out of a cardboard paper.
That's why I use
straw.
metal. I have metal
It's
straws.
not gonna happen.
Well, and I find it really funny that like years ago when we were kids, don't use paper. Don't use paper.
Yeah, don't use
Save
paper.
the
We're
rainforest,
killing
save
the
rain-
trees.
And then it became, wait, now we're using too much plastic. Let's use more paper.
Let's
and
go back to paper.
I'm waiting for the swing to go back the other way again.
Like,
And I'm
yeah,
gonna
first
laugh.
it was we're killing the things that are giving us oxygen and depleting millions of animals of their natural resources, and now it's let's go back to getting rid of oxygen and depleting millions of animals of their habitats because we want to save some turtles.
As opposed to, let's be honest, let's reuse the plastic correctly.
Right.
There's plenty of actual recycling for plastic. Like, if we did recycling correctly, we wouldn't need either.
Well, it all starts in the personal sorting, right? So they did this whole expose thing on it that I saw. People aren't sorting their recyclables correct in the beginning. And so then the companies that send it off to be recycled, the places that do that are rejecting the shipments because it isn't sorted correctly originally. So if you're going to sort your recycling, learn how to sort your recycling because you're actually causing more problems. We've got hundreds and thousands of tons of recyclable material that China, which is the #1 recycler, won't take because it came from America and Americans consistently don't sort the recyclables correctly when they sort them.
That makes no sense to me. It's not hard to sort your recyclables.
It's really not, but we're Americans.
Put a mask on, sort your recyclables, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good week.
30-second
buffer, 30-second buffer, 30-second buffer. Has it been 30 seconds yet?
No.
Of course not. 30-second buffer, 30-second buffer, 30-second buffer. There's Zadie, she just came in the room. 30-second buffer, 30